Good morning, everyone. Welcome to, let's try that again. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. There we go. So welcome to the final concert of the 2025 Percussion Workshop and Composition Workshop. We're really glad that you're here. The students have been doing a marvelous job this week, working hard. Our camps here have a reputation of being some of the best behaved students on campus through the summer, and we have lots of folks that come on campus for camps. And this year's group was no different. Did a great job, very respectful and hardworking, and they had a lot of fun as well. So my name is Dave Zerby. I'm the Director of Bands and Percussion Studies here at Alma College, and I'm the chair of the department. And I've been involved with this workshop since 1988. I'll let you all do the math on that. And it's been a real privilege for me to do this. When I was these folks' age, I went to music camp in Kentucky. And so being able to do this workshop and focus like this with our students is a real joy for me to be able to pass on all the things that I've learned and hopefully get a few people excited about the arts. So without further ado, I need to introduce someone that most of you probably interacted with. At least I know the percussion workshop students did. That gentleman is Mr. Aaron Krause. He's the percussion intern, marching percussion instructor, and arranger here for me. He's an Alma grad. He did all the logistics on this workshop. He really made it happen. And without him, we all wouldn't be sitting here today. So without any further ado, please welcome Aaron Krause.
Hello, everyone. As was said, my name's Aaron. We're really, really thrilled to have you all here and have all your students with us. You're probably going to hear the same thing as we as staff come up and kind of introduce ourselves and what we were doing, that it's always a thrill to have your students, or that your students were exceptional, or that it was really fun to work with them. We're not just saying that because we know parents like to hear that, but we're saying that because we really mean it. The students we've had this week have been fantastic, and we've really enjoyed working with them. I don't want to do too much talking because you're not here to listen to me. I just want to make a couple of comments for you so you know before you leave some things to think about. The program we handed to you should have some QR codes on the back and also maybe some links. Please, please, please fill those out or take a photo of that and fill out the form. It's going to direct you to just a quick questionnaire about how your experience was if you were a student, or for parents and guardians, what your experience was as on that side of things as well. All of that information helps make our workshops better every single year. So if you could fill that out before the end of the day today, or just when you remember when you see that program hanging on the fridge later, that's super helpful for us. We have a lot of talented musicians up here performing pieces that are either written for them or by them, or maybe just pieces that have been written long ago but resurrected and performed well with the students up here. So I want to just kind of say thank you for sending your students. We really appreciate it. Please tell everybody about your experience at the workshop if you are a student or if you're a guardian or a parent. Tell other people, like, if you like the workshop, send them our way, because this is fantastic. We're going to start today with our first percussion ensemble, so that group of students can start to come up on stage. It's a little less formal than the lights on, lights off here with the workshop, because we have so much stuff moving and we're sitting in the audience to enjoy other people's performances. The lights are going to stay on so we stay safe. So they're going to kind of come up on stage. This first group that we're having performing for you is 4/4. That's the name of the title, or the title of the piece. And we're going to be flip-flopping back and forth between percussion, then composition, percussion, composition, as listed in your program. We have a real treat for you with also some taiko performances and steel drum performances that will be introduced by the people that were teaching those. But for now, I'm done talking. Enjoy the show.
Hi everyone, I'm Sam from New Haven, Michigan. Today I'm going to be playing a piece that I wrote called Shattered. It elicits many different emotions in the few people that have heard it, and I hope that when you listen to it, you feel whatever you do feel. Enjoy, please.
Hi, everybody. While my students are getting their stuff set up, I'll just give a little introduction of myself for you. My name's Audrey Merrifield. I worked with this group of students this week, and they were excellent. You'll be hearing a piece called Judgment that they worked on super hard, and I'm super proud of everything that we've accomplished. A little bit about me, I was a recent grad this past spring from Alma College with a degree in music composition, so I also got to hang out with the composition camp as well, and assisted teaching in that. So we'll just finish setting this stuff up, and I hope you guys enjoy.
Hello, good morning. My name is Emilio Borda. I am from Bogota, Colombia, and I wrote a piece called Caduta. It's a story of a children running in the woods, tripping over something, and running towards her mother. Hope you like it.
Good morning, everyone. How are you? It's good to see you all here at Alma. We are so excited to have you here. My name is Justin Rito, and I'm on the faculty where I teach music theory, composition, music history, and some of our popular music courses. I'm going to stall for a little bit for our first big move this morning and tell you about the composition camp. We had 5 composers this year, all of whom come from various places around the state, and as Emilio introduced himself from South America. We have a student from Bogota, Colombia, which was a lot of fun to provide new perspective and new literature that the rest of us weren't familiar with. So we all learned a whole lot this week. The composer's morning started out with just about 3 hours of coursework in music theory, in what we call orchestration, which is how we use the different instruments, how high can a trumpet play and where does it sound good, things like that, and then how to write together with the different instruments, in addition to some music technology and composition courses. And so all of that was put together, and the students in the composing camp composed a piece within the first 3 to 3.5 days of the camp. So everything that you hear this morning, no notes were written down when they arrived on Sunday, and all of those notes, rhythms, markings, everything was done by about Thursday morning. And that's a pretty incredible feat. I don't know of many other camps that are this intense, this quick, and have high school students composing new music and then performing it themselves at the end of the week. So I definitely just wanted to brag on them about that a little bit. I have had a blast working with these 5 young composers. What you're going to hear out of their music, as you've already heard, is vastly different ideas about what music can be. Some really gritty, awesome dissonance like what was in Sam's piece. Beautiful chords and big statements like what was in Emilio's piece. And what you're going to hear next is Nolan's piece, who I will allow to come up here and introduce it himself. Thank you all for being here.
Hello, I'm Nolan Masonda, and I'm from Saginaw, Michigan. Now, the piece that I've written that I'm going to be performing for you today is called Fantasia for Piano and Saxophone. Now, the first thing I wrote is I wrote the melody, and I tried to see how many different chords and tonalities I could fit the melody into. So as you listen to this piece, keep an ear out for that.
Hey, I'm super happy you guys are here today. My name is Jake Holt. Through this week, I've got to work with the students, teaching pad class, which is like snare drum technique class. I also had the opportunity to teach marching exploratory, and I got to teach the ensemble that's setting up right now. The next couple ensembles that we have are larger ensembles, so we need a little bit more time to set up. But this piece that they're setting up for is a piece called Raise. I wrote and taught it. Pretty cool piece. So I hope you guys really enjoy it.
Hello, my name is Ethan Tugin, and I'm from Linden, Michigan. I've been composing a piece named Foaming Over the Glass, and throughout this piece you will probably notice many dissonant tones and notes used in it to convey this idea of something not being quite right.
thing on. There we go. Hi, I'm Ainsley Kinney, and the next piece you're about to hear, I not only directed but composed. This piece is quirky, surprising, and exciting, just like all the students I got to work with this week. This week is one of my favorites out of the whole year. I love the opportunity to work with so much young talent. I also got to work with the composers this week, and I was just blown away by their minds, composing things I would have never even thought of. We've rehearsed every day this week for an hour, so what you're about to hear for all the ensembles is really a compilation of only 5 hours of work. When you consider that, it's really amazing what these kids are able to accomplish in a week. In addition to teaching this ensemble and working with that composition students, I also taught marimba ensemble, where we learned about marimba technique and a little bit of music theory and a few uncommon scales that are a little bit spooky sounding. This is another one of those big moves. Let's see. Okay. So during the week, in addition to doing music, we spend a lot of time hanging out, playing games. We usually have an evening activity. So this week we've done trivia, we've played kickball outside in the rain, we've done, pulling names out of a hat and charades. I think the big star of the week, though, the crown jewel of our evening activities is the Supervillain Smackdown, where the kids get divided into groups, and each group gets a staff member, and they have to come up with a supervillain power and backstory for their staff member. And then the staff members brawl it out at the Smackdown, and we choose a winner. And this year, the winner was Jake Holt back there. Yeah. With the power to play triangle with his mind. Yeah. We're almost there. We're just about there. All right. I think we're just about ready to start. This piece is called Hidden in Plain Sight, and I hope that you enjoy. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Aiden. I'm from Greenville, Michigan. The next song you're going to hear is a song based on a new beginning or a recreation of the earth. With saxophone and clarinet melodies and multiple piano solos, here is The New Earth.
Good morning. Morning. My name is Ayan Hunter Ishikawa. I live in Portland, Oregon, and I was here this week teaching taiko. Taiko is the Japanese drums that we're transitioning into. And my connection to this place is through Dave Zerby, who I went to school with at Central Michigan University. So we played together a lot during that time. And then since then, I've traveled and lived in different places and played percussion as well as taiko and other kinds of music. So this week is the first time we tried in this program bringing taiko as a specific class. So the students learned how to, well, first we learned the names of the drums. There's different categories of drums, what the sticks are called, what the percussion instruments are called, and so on. And then after that, we went over some of the foundation of playing taiko, and they include learning different sounds. For example, when you hit the center, we say don. Can you say that? Don. If we hit the rim, we would say ka. Ka. If we hit the two sticks together, we might say ki. Or we might combine all of these and maybe have some other sounds. Don, don, ka, ka, ki, ki, ki. Ki, ki, don, don, kara, kara, ka. Yeah. Sometimes there's a rest. Su, don, su, don, su, don, don. Very good. Yeah, you could be in the class, no problem. That's one of the differences with taiko, learning taiko, teaching taiko. We usually don't use sheet music like we saw in percussion ensemble and the composition. Usually in taiko ensembles, we have maybe one leader who teaches the piece or a composer who teaches the piece, and a lot of times it's just learned by saying the patterns instead of having sheet music. So that's what we focused on this week, was learning how to play the taiko with those different sounds. We ended up doing 8 different sounds, so maybe I covered like 4 just now, so there's about 4 more. And instead of teaching simple pieces, I thought it would be interesting for the students to compose their own taiko song based on these fundamentals. So because it was a big group and we didn't have too many instruments, we split the group into 2. And the first group, they wrote a piece called Juichi. Yeah. Juichi in Japanese means 11. And I think it's because there's 11 members. Right? I think that's why. This piece is inspired by rain. And then the second group will come in and play a piece called Bellows of Thunder. And I think that was inspired by thunder. And this week we had some rain, and I'm not sure about thunder, but maybe that was part of the inspiration. So 2 pieces for taiko that the students composed. Please enjoy.
Thank you. There's another big setup change. Could everyone give a quick round of applause to our person in the back booth there, Christian? Christian is helping us out this week, and we really appreciate their expertise back there. As we're changing around, I'm just going to quickly say a quick shout out. You've heard from most of our staff, but we can't do this alone. We also have student staff. Student staff are over here. We have Joey. We also have Devin. And somewhere helping somewhere is Bobby as well. I just want to give them a quick acknowledgement as well, maybe just a quick round of applause as well, if you could. Student staff serve as our first and foremost connection to your students. When the rest of us as staff are back here cleaning up afterwards, sometimes the student staff help us, but most often they're taking your students back to the dorms, making sure they're safe, making sure that they're having a good time, making sure they're getting up early for breakfast, doing all the stuff that, can be a little challenging at times, especially when we're on day 5 and we still have to get up for 7:30 breakfast. So I really appreciate their help. We can't do this without them, just like we can't do it without any of our staff. Somebody who didn't get an introduction is helping right now, setting up in the black, is Mark Alderman. We're really, really fortunate to have him here. Those that are returning might remember him from doing samba drumming last year. Could we also give a quick hand to Mark? We're always excited to have anybody that wants to come back for staff and student staff, all the help. It's just wonderful. I'm going to hand things over now to the person that's been doing steel drums. We're going to finish the concert now with steel drums. The concert order's a little bit flipped. It was kind of a last minute getting you guys the concert set list, so we'll kind of explain what's going on. But without further ado, I want to introduce the pan player that's going to talk about what's coming next. So thank you.
Evidently, I'm supposed to entertain you while they move equipment. And if you've ever heard me talk, you'd much rather watch them move equipment. My name's Steve Lawhorn. I teach down the road in St. Louis. We have steel band. I teach middle school and high school band there as well, so all the ensembles that go with that. We had a great week. Thank you, everybody, for extended family members. We don't get to teach cool kids like this if you don't support them in their regular music programs and lessons and all of those things. So thank you very much. It's been a great week. They're awesome students. And again, we don't get to do this if you don't support that. So we're going to go out of order because I didn't really tell them the order when they printed the program. So your group 2 there is going to be first. So you'll hear My Hero and Sunshine of Your Love from that group. And then from the second group, you'll hear Can't Stop and Kids Aren't All Right. If you are interested in playing the steel pan, we do community bands, adult community bands, a couple times a year in St. Louis, so you can get a hold of me there. My last name, which is on the front of the program, at stlouisschools.net. You can email me. And we do this during before our Festival of Steel in April, and we're also going to do it again this year before one of our big fundraisers in November. So you don't have to have any experience with any musical instrument. We will teach you how to play a couple songs really quickly. And I think we have a couple of our adult band alums out here, yes? All right. So yes, we have people from my former students who played for 7 or 8 years in the bands that come in and play with us now. And then we also have people that don't even admit to singing in the shower or anything like that. And they come in and they learn a song or two, and we have a really good time. So if you'd like to learn to play these instruments, you certainly can do that. And I think I've talked my way through, and we're ready. Yes, more music, and thank you again.